Manuel, how are you feeling today?
Very good, thank you. Very good. I try to look at things positive all the time. I try. So to date, I'm very well, thank you.
Before we were having obviously a conversation before we started, and even when we met, you were all anticipating the wedding. What changed for you?
So now I'm married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm still trying to get used to calling my wife instead of my girlfriend.
Yes,
Because sometimes I refer to her as my girlfriend still, and it might not look that good after just a couple of weeks. But no, things obviously from a personal life, I'm not married, but from a work perspective, I'm still the same Manuel. Had to take a short break to digest everything, and now to be ready for the next step in life.
When we're having the conversation, you use the phrase "back to reality."
Yes.
And so it's sort of at the back of my mind. I was also reflecting on it, back to reality, because when we do because getting married is a big chapter in our lives, right? So it's one of the biggest chapters.
Agreed.
It's a rite of passage almost. And when you said back to reality, I said, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean to you?
Because for me, it was like a break from the day-to-day, because I had to pause and just focus on my wife and nothing else, focus on the special day, and recruitment had to be on the side for a couple of days. And then obviously, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you see it, we had to go back to work, we had to go back to the routine. Routine is amazing as well, don't get me wrong, but sometimes a shock in the system where you take a break, you focus on what really matters as well in life, not just work and your career, and focus on what we really love at the end of the day as well, apart from the day-to-day work.
What you mentioned recruitment and you work in recruitment.
Yes.
What brought you into the world of the recruitment?
The funny thing is I don't even know how to answer that, because when I graduated from the university, I was clueless. I didn't have any idea of what do I want from my life, my career. So I started applying everywhere, trying to understand what can I do with my degree. Then I went to a recruitment agency. They were representing me with their clients. After a couple of interviews, they thought, you might be actually a good fit with us. Your character suits us. I was like, okay, what's recruitment? They told me, go home, do your research, go on YouTube and check what recruitment is, and let us know if you're interested. If interested, then we can have a chat. Fast forward 9 years almost, and I'm still in recruitment. So when I started this career, honestly, I didn't know what to expect. In the first few months, I used to hate it. And that's what I always say to my team. It's fine not to love your job immediately. Sometimes you need to test it, try it out. The first few months, I kept on applying for every job that I used to see, because I didn't understand the concept of it. I didn't understand why companies pay for recruitment agencies. Today, obviously, I understand the value that we bring to the businesses and to our clients, but it was a bit of a shock coming from a European studies background, from politics, aiming to be the next prime minister. Ended up in recruitment, trying to understand what compliance is, what legal is, what financial services is. So what got me into recruitment was really by luck, I would say. Thank God I love my job. It's a challenging job, which sometimes tests me and my patience, but I love the job. I love the challenge.
What tests you specifically?
People. I love people, but obviously those are our challenge. Yes. Because we deal with all kind of levels. We deal with candidates who are looking for a job, sometimes at a delicate situation. We deal with clients who are looking actively for some people sometimes. So it's like a situation where you're constantly fighting against time to make sure to find the right talent for your clients, and obviously to find the right opportunity for your candidates as well. So that is like a constantly torn situation between different people, different ideas, different objectives as well. And those challenges is what keeps the kick in after 9 years in this job.
Well, I'm not sure if I mentioned when I met, but I also started my career after university. And for me, it was a huge slap in the face.
Yes, to be honest, it's a reality check as well.
It is a reality check because coming out of university, you know so little about the world of work that you don't realize how little you know.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you need to be familiar with internal processes. You need to develop a commercial understanding, how businesses work, what different roles entail. And all of a sudden, you're interviewing or meeting with a general manager, a sales manager, and you need to understand what they do and try to find the right fit for them. So that's a huge learning curve, I would say. At least that's my experience.
Yes, especially the first few months. And that's why I said I kept on looking for another, because I was like, what am I doing? I'm for sure this is not going to be me in the future. Because I had to learn so many things, speaking to different people at once, representing various companies, making sure that we need to be on top of things, and obviously give the results that we should be giving. So it was as well a bit of a challenging first few months, for sure.
I wouldn't say, for me at least, it wasn't humbling, because I knew that it was my first job, but it is a humbling experience.
Yes.
You realize that, okay, there's a lot to learn here.
Yes, and to be honest, when I was being interviewed for it, they told me, do you like working with people? I was like, yes. Do you love having chats? Yes. So I was like, okay, this is going to be an easy job, speaking to people, like matchmaker, easy, you know? Not necessarily, but my experiences even in student organization and student politics is what also gave me the first few, let's say, bits and pieces of what recruitment could be. Because we used to do recruitment for people to run for the election with the organization that I used to represent at the university. So yes, different kind of recruitment, of course, but still building that network is what makes your network at the end of the day.
For sure. We share a similar experience on that front. But it was a formative experience for me. Obviously, I stepped a little bit away because I still work very much in HR.
Yes.
So I still keep a very live, let's say, interaction with recruitment. And if I look back, I would say, nowadays, I think I will do a better job than I did 10 years ago.
Most probably.
Because what it truly is it's true how they tell you. It's if you enjoy meeting with people, having conversations, building relationships, that is what is recruitment essentially. Obviously, there is an element of identifying traits and trying to match that with the business. But I think the more you do it, the more what's the word?
The more accustomed you get to it.
The more accustomed and the more time you spend with the client, understanding the culture.
You get used to them as well, and then you build a certain relationship where it's not just a transactional relationship.
I think it's short-lived if it's transactional.
Exactly. But when you're young, you're I'm going to say immature on the job. Without experience, you might think, okay, quick placement. But in reality, there's so much more to that than just a quick buck, you know. The way I treat every client is, honestly, I try to build a friendship relationship, if that makes sense, where it's not just about them finding people or us finding them people. It's all about understanding their business. We want to be an extended hand for them. So we want to help them find the best talent, because at the end of the day, it's not just filling a spot, let's say. It's more making sure that the talent stays there, grows there. That's what gives us satisfaction at the end of the day. It's not just making a placement. Yes, there's when we get paid, but in reality, what really satisfies the heart is when people stay long within a company, they grow. Sometimes they become the chief or directors within the business. That's what gives us the thrill as well.
What's the biggest misconception that you encounter in your work?
Wow. Recently, I'm going to mention this with an example.
Sure.
Recently, I had an open vacancy with us in the team. And they told me, Manu, I'm looking for a recruiter role because it's a nice job. I was like, okay, agreed. But what do you mean by nice job? No, basically, it's just posting adverts, people apply, you send them, and that's it. Right. That was a very big misconception, which we encounter on a daily basis. But during this interview, I was like, right, okay. So let's start from scratch. Let's understand what a recruiter is, first of all, and our consultative approach. Because for me, just sending a CV, that's not a recruiter's role. But consulting with a client, guiding the client, that's a recruiter role. So the way I teach my team, or I guide my team, or I make sure that they are receiving this training, because I believe that once you build the consultative approach, that's when you can not just win the trust of a client, but actually convince the client why you should be their extended partner. And having a consultative approach is what makes any recruiter better than others who are not consultative.
Yes.
So we try to guide our clients, not just by saying, you might need a head of HR, not an HR manager. No, that's not consultative enough. Our consultation is, okay, what do you want? What do you want the person to do? Do you want them to just do data inputting? Okay, then why are you paying a 60K person for instead of 20K?
Yeah.
And that at that point is when the client realizes that the value that you're adding. So the misconception is just we're just a CV pushers, or okay, we have a lot of people ready to go. We're like a factory of people sending them
Yes.
right at hand, which in reality is not. And that's when we also emphasize on the culture of a company. Because you're coming from HR, so HR focuses a lot on culture, and when we're discussing this, for me, it's not just filling a position or someone is doing data inputting instead of an AI system or whatever it is, but making sure that the culture of this individual is going to boost the culture at the company or vice versa, not diminishes it or making it worse, So the biggest misconception is that we're just CV pushers, really. And linking this, I recently had an encounter with a client which said, Manuel, I don't care about your consultative, etc. And he told me, you are CV pushers. And that's when I took honestly offense. I'm not the type of person where I'm taking offense and everything or so, but we're not just CV pushers, just for CV pushers who wouldn't pay our fees. So the way I see it is we're there to guide the client, to consult with the client, to make sure that they are making the right decision.
Oh, two things came to mind. And, I have a lot to say about this. One is a parallel with what I do. I'll start off with. Let me stick to the topic first. One of the misconceptions that I used to experience when I was in recruitment was that the line between recruiting and headhunting is one and the same, when in reality it's not. And obviously, I think you would agree with this. Headhunting receives a little bit of a negative kind of connotation. I think headhunting is needed sometimes. Yes. It's important. As long as it's done ethically, like any other profession.
Exactly.
It's needed. So it's a different discipline. It's a different approach.
Yes.
Do you get that?
Yes. So I consider myself as a headhunter and a recruiter. Why? Because for specific roles, you need to headhunt. In Malta, the market is as it is.
Yep.
We're headhunters. As you said, though, you need to do it ethically. A lot of companies sees or assumes that headhunting is not done ethically. It's just done to attack someone or to diminish a company or to make it, I don't know. But really and truly, headhunting is part of recruitment, especially in today's market in Malta. Because if you just rely on applications, you will never close a vacancy, honestly. Or rarely, unless you invest thousands of euros in marketing and employment branding.
In junior roles, in
yes.
more senior roles.
Exactly.
And blend needs to happen.
Exactly. And in reality, sometimes, once again, the market is so small in specific areas. Let's say you're a telecommunications company, and you're representing one of the largest 3-4 key players in Malta. So in that case, if you're going to approach or wait for applications, either from those companies is going to apply, unless they are not related to the industry, or you approach people. Is it ethically to approach? Is it not ethically to approach? I mean, there's a lot of discussions one can have. However, the way I see it is you don't approach your clients. That's what ethics is all about in recruitment. But once again, headhunting is a misconception as well, because we headhunt who we think that the client would be willing to accept at the end of it. It's not just the fun of it, just messaging random people or making them move from their current company. So even though it's not the same, I would say in today's world it's becoming more of a similar, or at least tied together. Recruitment, obviously, if you see it from the perspective of the consultative approach, then yes, I agree with you, it's completely different than headhunting. And unfortunately, recruiting is more the positive side of the story, while headhunting is like, they're headhunters. But once again, I mean, we need to be real. The market is as it is.
Even the name, it's
yes, I mean, it's like you're killing someone, headhunting, and that's when I'm training in the team, or someone from the team is relatively junior, and I start headhunting, they will be like, whoa, what are we doing here? But it's the truth. Headhunting is unfortunately linked with negative negativity usually. But I would say the majority of companies in Malta rely on it as well.
And headhunting receives the bad side of the story because the poaching element of it. And from my personal experience, you wouldn't move if you're
unless you're unhappy or there's something
happy,
annoying you.
You can be happy.
You.
You can be happy, but you might be aspiring for something else, which sometimes in certain companies you hit a glass ceiling, a natural glass ceiling. Yes. Nothing wrong with the company. It's just how things are within that organization. So if you're ambitious enough to continue growing within your role, within your profession, or you want to completely try something else, you want to work in a larger organization, you want to work in an international organization, and you're looking for a specific set of experience which your current employer doesn't provide you with. Yes. Sometimes it's not just about the salary, sometimes it's about the experience that the employee is looking for.
Yes.
Yes, it's very unfortunate, very, very unfortunate. But we're all seeking something else, and I think nowadays it's become very acceptable that people move every couple of years. And well, I always suggest, even to my clients who I coach or guide in some way or another, that I think for a good tenure you need to spend at least 3 years in an organization. Between 3 to 5, I think it's the sweet spot. And in any role, because if you leave after 1 year, you wouldn't have experienced one cycle.
Yes.
In the second year, you're re-evaluating the first cycle. And I think that in the third year, you start consolidating what you perhaps started. And I think between 3 to 5 years, it will give you enough time to work on certain projects, deploy them, and then see the aftermath of that.
Yes.
So I think it's held to move every 3 or 5 years.
I think that's the normal trend, let's say. When I started recruitment, people used to stay longer than that.
For sure.
If you go a bit more in the past, my father spent the same working with the same company for all his working life. So, and now we're seeing a trend where after 1-2 year stops, people would move. So as things stand, let's say, the tenure is becoming much shorter. So when you compare, for example, my father, for example, he's been with the same company until he retired, basically. So really and truly, he has always been loyal to one company, one boss, one CEO, always that loyalty. But once again, loyalty over here sounds either negative or positive, because it doesn't mean, as you said, sometimes you hit a glass ceiling where you'll be like, what's next? Sometimes it's not just about money, as you said. And in today's world, especially after COVID, people are thinking a lot about their career choices, the flexibility element, if they are in the right path or not. Mentioning COVID, during those times, we saw a lot of people moving away, for example, from the hospitality industry. So making courses in HR, marketing, sales, and just moving to another role, because they thought, why not now? I'm during lockdown, I don't have anything to do, let me do a course, and then switching careers. So this is still happening, not as frequent as during COVID times. However, people are rethinking about their career choices as well. Before, the past, it was very commitment, yes, career life forever, this job forever. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you see it, once again, is a career became more of an opportunity, but everyone sees it in a different way, not as a job for life. Sometimes they see it as a stepping stone, unfortunately. Sometimes people are seeing more the flexibility aspect, sometimes the hybrid or the work from home element as well. So, or as you said, sometimes it's an international experience, for example.
Yeah. You remind me of a story. I still need to go back to what I thought earlier on today, but new ideas keep popping up. Recently, I was supporting a client in the recruitment process. I don't do recruitment, just for disclosure.
It's okay.
But I do sit with interviews when a client calls me out just to be part of a panel.
Yes.
And I was part of a panel with this client, and they were reviewing a senior position, a head of department. And this is the second time that we're doing this exercise with this client. And we sit down, we meet with a couple of candidates, Some show potential, some do not as much. Mostly regarding the cultural fit.
Yes.
So in most cases, it's not about, especially in certain roles, it's not about the
CV.
the CV and the academics and the experience. Sometimes just the personality and the character, the drive of a certain someone. So in most cases, that is it. And at least that's what I'm finding. And anyway, we met with this person, and he's very ambitious. He has a huge drive, and the client told me that he's good, but I'm afraid that he will spend 2-3 years and then leave. And I challenged that. I told them, okay, what's the problem with that? And because he would have invested time and money, and he would, but what do you want from this position? They told me, I want someone that they build the system, and then someone else comes to maintain it. Well, you answered your own question. You need someone with a huge drive, a drive big enough that they can build a system, a structure from zero, from ground up. And not everyone can do that. Build a system from ground up, then someone else comes and they maintain it for you. This is exactly what you
need. Yes.
And you reminded me of that, because sometimes a person might not be there to stay. A person might come in, solve a problem which is the business is experiencing at the moment, and then move on, and then someone else comes in to continue from where they left off. Because sometimes business owners see someone, they come in and they're there to stay, which is likely or preferred in some situations, but not always.
Yes.
Not always. So you remind me of that.
Fair enough. Yeah, and it's the truth. It's very sometimes even clients. So we need to make them realize as well that really and truly, if they are not the owner of the company, which still can move away from the company if they are the owner, but they can still move away themselves. So really and truly, it's the value that they bring into the company at that point in time once they are employed.
Yes.
No one is in a company forever.
Yeah.
Once again, I keep on mentioning this because once I had a client a couple of years ago, and he was the owner of a small CSP, medium-sized CSP, and he was like, Emanuel, I need people that stay at least 5 years with us. Okay. A couple of years ago, they were bought out by a company, so not even him stayed 5 years. So what I'm trying to say here is, honestly, it's yes, you bring people and you try to retain them. That's why staff retention is important. But at the end of the day, it's the value that someone can bring into the business, at least 2, 3, 5 years. It depends on, obviously, how happy they are in the company. And then, obviously, someone else can be up to that level and then be replaced or internal promotion or so. So, yes, that these are instances which we meet quite frequently as well.
Certain people come with even in our personal lives, right? Sometimes we meet individuals. They are in our lives for a while.
Yes.
Some people stay, some people do not. It happens in our personal lives.
Exactly, and that's it's literally the same concept. I mean, different, obviously,
Yes,
relationship, different
the
type,
context is different.
but it's this same kind of.
The context and the type of the relationship, because at work, whether we like to admit it or not, at least that's my perspective of it. At work, it is a transactional relationship. Yes, I think in the past 5 years, I think the relationship, it became more like a. So I come from the background of psychology, so I see it from a systemic point of view, where the employee is the child and the employer is the parent.
Yes.
And in the past 5 years, I've seen an increase in the expectation from the employee versus the employer. We expect the employer to pay our health insurance, to take care of our pension. Now, this year, we might see an increase in pension plans because of the new legislation that's coming in. They might provide us with a car cash allowance, mobile plans, so you name it. So it has become more or less of a transactional relationship, but ultimately it still is a transactional relationship, which sounds very cold and distant. But I don't see it that way. It is that way because it has to be that way. There's no other way. A business, if we imagine a business like a moving train, hopefully in the business that we're working in 50 years' time, we might not be working in that business, but that business will still exist and will still keep on going. That's why we have companies who have been 100 years or so here, the employees changed, but the business keep on going, keep on growing.
Agreed.
So it's something which is, a business is something which is not tangible, it's not human, even though
Exactly.
it's made up of human
Yes.
people.
Yes. Yes.
So that's my perspective.
Well, no, I agree with you. Where people come and go. Obviously, once again, staff retention is important, and
Sure.
you need to handle the staff turnover. If there's any issues, let's say, or problematic things, you need to tackle them. But we also need to embrace the reality that people in today's world, they do not stand in a company for
Yeah.
10 years or
Yes.
20 years. I mean, that would be great.
Yes.
But sometimes some changes is also important. Some new ideas, injection of new ideas, injection
Yes.
of new energy, and also keeping up with the trends. Because if you are always the same 10 people within the company,
Yep.
your ideas will soon run out. Okay, you might be very fertile in your creativity, but it might mean you're still going to be at one point in time, you're going to be stuck doing the same thing all over again. I can see it even from I'm going to say the juniors in the team. So everyone in the team, I did it the other way around. So everyone in the team can bring something to the table. So even especially if you're young, the younger generation, the mentality is super different. So even when we're speaking to a client, they can bring their 2 cents as well.
Yes.
In our marketing tactics, for example, I am not the best marketeer, but some tips and pieces, sometimes it's like, okay, someone that never did recruitment barely understands it because they're still in training, and they give ideas that are like, whoa, this actually makes sense.
Yes.
And sometimes, especially in the past, let's say, people used to say, you're a junior, you shouldn't belong to the discussion table. And that's something I wanted also to implement in my leadership. So whether you're a junior, senior, team lead, I don't care, as long as you can bring something to the table.
For sure.
Even just something up to our discussion. And no idea is stupid, really, because from that stupid idea, we can change, tweak it, and make it the best idea ever. So the way I see it is everyone can add value, irrelevant of the age. I was one of the I'm still 29, soon to be 30. So really and truly, when I joined GCS as a team lead, I was 22, 23, and people say, you're young, kind of. When I became a director, I was 26 years old, and people would say, you're a bit too young for that, which I agree. 26-year-old for a director title, especially, you'd be like, oh, who's this? But in reality, it's these small things that I learned from everyone, and try to put them on the same table and make sure that everyone is involved in it. So it's not just the typical old traditional mentality. We always do this. We did this. We should always do this. That's what kills businesses. And thank God we've been growing throughout these years. It's one of the main reasons, of course, is because not just the creativity, but also involving people that wants to be part of the change. Let's say, now I sounded a bit political, but once you want to make something happen, it's up to you to make it work. So, and unfortunately, some traditional companies might suffer from this because they will be like, but we always did the interviews this way, or we always spoke this way, or we always did this, or whatever. And that is the first failure of any business, unless you're being challenged.
What I mean, Emanuel, is it ties back to what I was saying also before, and I think you tied it beautifully in the sense that I think it's the how. Nothing wrong with the employer taking care of its employees.
Of course.
Honestly, that's what I do for a living. So that should happen. So people centricity is important. It's the how you do it. In my line of work, I deal with both. So I try to be the bridge between the employer and the employee. Sometimes the employee might be expecting a little bit too much from the employer, and vice versa. So I think it's very important to listen to both parties and to try to mediate.
Yes.
So I think obviously people centricity is very important, something that I really work. And that comes to what I wanted to share before is the misconception, and I resonate a lot with the consultative approach that you're mentioning, because I do take that approach at Never as well. So when I'm consulting organizations, when it comes either to leadership or how to manage teams, or to see what's working and how to communicate, especially having difficult conversations with team members is that we're there, or at least I'll use a singular, that I'm there to train and to give a lecture style of a workshop. If, let's say we're doing a workshop. And that's not the style. So that's not my style. My style would be to meet you where you're at, to see where you need to go, or as the client prescribed, for example, and how I can bridge that. So what type of skills you need to develop in a set amount of time for you to get there. So it's a very collaborative and participative approach, which is hard.
It is.
Sometimes I've lost business because I've spoken the truth.
Yes, and I don't mind that. So
No.
I'm going to sound bad maybe or big-headed, but honestly, I prefer being honest and upfront with the client rather than promise them the word and not deliver.
Yeah.
So I recently had a case like this, and after a couple of going back and forth, the client realized. But honestly, the type of recruiter that I am, if you're giving me a vacancy, let's say, and you're willing to pay 25K, I'm inventing numbers just for the sake of the argument. But I know that the market is offering 40K for that. I'm not going to waste my time. So my time is precious. The client's time is precious. The candidate's time is precious. So I love being upfront. Listen, would you consider going up or not? If not, I might find you someone, but don't expect miracles from me. Yes. So the way I see it, honestly, it's all about being honest in any relationship. I'm going to call the relationship that I have with my clients a sexual relationship. So I want to make sure that they understand and they're on the same level. If I can make it cheaper, why not? If I can find you someone cheaper, why not? But we also need to be realistic. Mm-hmm. So no one's going to work for free. With the pay transparency directive, for example, nowadays it's easier access, I'm going to say, to all pays.
For sure.
Apart from that, everyone has a living. We let's say the majority of Maltese people have a loan or commitments that they need to adhere to. So we also need to pay people what they deserve to be paid. Mm-hmm. So once again, some clients might not love the truth or would prefer a lie rather than the truth. But I'm the type of recruiter which I prefer, I'm going to say, losing a client over the truth rather than keeping a client over a lie. And throughout these years, even though I might have lost some clients along the way because of being direct, usually they will come back after a couple of months because at least they know where they stood with me. And the satisfaction that I get when this happens is honestly more than if I place whoever. Recently, I had a similar case to this. Sorry for mentioning these examples, but I believe
that's what enriches the episode.
But I recently had a case where a client told me they stopped utilizing our services because they found someone cheaper, someone whatever. A couple of months later, I received a call from a random number. I was like, I'm client X. You remember me? I was like, of course I remember you. Tell me what happened. He told me I was bitten because I paid less, and unfortunately they tricked me into their Headhunting approach. So I'm done with that. I told him I would love to welcome you back. So he realized, and this always happens, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? So really and truly, people will realize what value we add as consultants after we stop or depart the relationship. So, but once again, honesty is the best policy. Sometimes being too honest might, backfire. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I want to sleep comfortably at home after a day. So.
And I mean, if when it comes to salaries, it's public data. There are dedicated companies who do surveys about averages.
Yes.
So it's public information, exactly. Public knowledge, I would say, especially now with the Pay Transparency Directive. So because I think that was also at a point in time a misconception that you try to increase the salary so you get a bigger percentage as a recruiter.
Which sometimes it happens. I believe that there are people that will try to.
That's why we mentioned ethics.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all about ethics in everything in life. Really and truly, I get it, and that's another misconception that I forgot actually. But I heard it before. You guys try to push the salary. No, if the candidate is asking me for 30, I'm going to send them 30.
Yes.
For me, I prefer 25 and it's a deal done rather than 30 and no deal done.
Yes.
So that's another good thing. Thank you for reminding me.
And the constant back and forth with clients, and then clients dropping the job offer at the very last minute. So it's I get
part of it, part of our lovely cycle.
I appreciate it how you phrase it. But if you prefer a 25k deal and it's done rather than a 30k one and it might drop.
Exactly.
So
safe. I'll choose the safe option.
Well, but it's true, and I'm happy to sort of like spending this time to uncover these sort of misconceptions, because sometimes it's some roles are misunderstood. So we know. I'm going to simplify an argument. We know what a lawyer does. We know what a doctor does. We know an architect, what they do, or we think we know. But when it comes to these roles, there is still a lot of gray area.
Yes.
And we do not appreciate that in every role there is a gray area.
Agreed.
Because we mentioned a lawyer or an architect. They have different specializations according to their interests and what they're interested in. So in every profession, there are gray areas and there is a spectrum.
Yes.
So there is no one size fits all. Maybe in the past 100 years, the world of work got complex enough that there needs to be niches. And I think it did. So
Yes.
I think 100 years ago, I think certain things were simpler.
Yes.
So, for example, personally speaking, my father still doesn't know what I do for a living.
Okay. Most probably same. They think so. Now that you've mentioned this, when my father meets someone looking for a job, my son can help you find a job. It feels like I'm with an authority. You know, I can find you a job easily, which is not, obviously it's not the case. So. But that's a bigger misconception. When I tell people, what do you do I find people jobs. Like Jobs Plus. No, wait. I'm a recruiter. So these are things that we with another misconception that we face. Saying about the learning / how things evolved and how we had to evolve. And it reminds me of the first vacancy that I was given in my previous company. The first vacancy was a compliance officer in an investment company. I never knew what investment is, and I never knew what compliance is. So back then, I was Googling this client was a very important client for that company. I might have tarnished a bit the relationship. I was still in my learning days. And I used to send anything that I see compliance in, send. That was my consultative approach 9 years ago. Obviously, I was still learning. But pharmaceutical compliance, send. Investment compliance, send. Gaming compliance, send. And one fine morning, I received a call from a very angry client. There's like, Manuel, what are you doing? I was like, I'm sending you CVs. He said, yes. You sent me 9 CVs, and out of these 9 CVs, not even one is in line with what I'm looking for. And it hit me. I was like, whoa. So I was just reading the title, and that links me to what we think people are actually doing. Yeah. Reading the title, okay, compliance, same. But in reality, then after a couple of weeks, I still placed this person. So the person was placed. But it took a couple of convincing then for this client to trust me again. So what I'm trying to say here is, really and truly, we think that we all know what an HR manager is doing, but in reality, every role, every company has their own policies, procedures, and also the way they see a role. Sometimes an auditor in Big Four might not work in a small CSP because sometimes they are used to certain procedures. In a small CSP, you might not have all of those procedures, and the person might not work. But that doesn't make the person not good enough. So it is an interesting phase, I would say, and we've mentioned about the future, what will happen in the past vis-a-vis present and the future. I'm excited for the future. Scared a bit, to be completely blunt, but I'm excited of what could the future hold for our industry as well.
For sure. I mean, we already started seeing an increase in software inbuilt AI tools that helps you
Yes.
filter
Yes.
clients and helps you do the shortlist. Although I think I haven't had the opportunity to get my hands really properly on one of these softwares, but I think it's still not perfect in identifying.
And I don't believe it will be perfect.
Because the culture fit, today AI cannot guarantee a culture fit.
No.
So maybe in a couple of years, possibly.
Could be.
But today, I think, so having a good CV is important. Actually, I was having a conversation. I was having this conversation with my students because I lecture part-time last week. I'm lecturing a module between HR and volunteering. So
Okay.
I'm bringing these two together, which is an interesting take. And we're going through the interviewing process. So first of all, you need to have a good CV and what you look out for when you're seeing CVs and you're creating a shortlist, and then how to conduct interviews and interviewing techniques and all of that. And obviously, because it hits home and everyone has to have a CV,
Yes.
people start to ask what needs to be in a CV and what's not. I think having a good CV is important. Having said so, if you have a really good CV but you're never called for an interview, the company doesn't know you. And even then, the interview is not enough, because you need to work with someone over a prolonged period of time to really get to know what they're capable of.
Agreed.
That comes with the probationary period.
Exactly.
And even then, some people make it to the end of the probation and then they
Switch.
and it happens as well.
Yes.
So there's no guarantee that a person really fits. And I mean, people change as well. People change more than we think sometimes. So it's not that they were playing some sort of a game or they had an agenda of sorts. Can be, but it cannot be as well.
Yes.
Even if so let's say it was a managerial role and they had 1 year probation. In 1 year, things change. They might had some situation in their personal lives that changed the way they view the world, perhaps a loss, perhaps a newborn. And completely now the perspective changes, and so our behaviors. So it might not necessarily be tied with the job.
About this, I'm going to make a quick pause because I need to speak about this, a case study which happened in my company. But before, about AI in the future. I believe that AI will make our life easier. It will assist us in the sifting through CVs, going through profiles, agreed. But the human element is impossible, I would say, to be replaced fully. Yes, AI can take like an interview with chatbots and all that, but I don't believe that AI will completely wipe out HR people, recruiters, sales people, whoever it is, because I believe that the human contact in these roles especially is very important. Linking to your comment about the kind of adaptability and how things can change if you change certain things, I had an instance in my role. I was a firm believer that for anyone to do a recruiter role, unfortunately, they need to work 40 hours. Part-time roles might be tough. Why? Because a client might not know that you're working till 2 or whatever. So I thought it is almost impossible to work part-time and be successful. Then I had an instance in my company which completely changed my point of view, to be honest. This person is still with us and she might be seeing this and she was like, speaking about me. But I had a person and I have a person in the team and this person was not performing as good as much as expected. When we envisaged the conversation, when we started the conversation, I was like, okay, what is the problem? How can I help? She was honest. She told me I have 2 kids. I'm getting burned out. I need my time to spend with the family. I was like, okay, I never done this. I want to give it a try. Will you consider going on reduced, if that's what, because she was asking for reduced hours, and if it's a possibility to increase work from home, and etc. And I was like, I have 2 options. Either this person is going to leave, or I can offer this person an opportunity. Who knows, maybe it will be fruitful. I got approval, and I told her, well, you can start from next week, whatever. On reduced hours, because she wanted reduced, not part-time. I told her, okay. She wanted to pick up kids when needed, no problem. Fast forward 8 months, this person became the top biller of the company. What changed? Just me being open-minded. So honestly, I was shocked. I'm still shocked to date. But I was extremely pleased with just a simple, no problem, reduce the hours. This person became the top biller of the company in a matter of months. So a simple change or shift in my mentality, it boosted this person. It helped this person to achieve her objectives of spending time with the kids, because that's also very important. As I started the conversation, I told you work is very important, but family is as well. And she also started performing extremely well in her job, because she was rest assured that if needed, she can leave at 2, for example, or she can pick up her kids or so. So these things in management is what gives me the drive as well, because sometimes with just a simple decision, which we think, it's impossible to work, which is a simple decision, I made her life better, and obviously she performed better as well. So win-win for both ends.
For sure. And sometimes we take our ideas, our judgment, our biases as truthful.
Yes.
And with reason, there is a very biological explanation of it, because we're conditioned in that way so that we're efficient in our decision-making processes. However, sometimes it's good that you pause and see, okay, can I apply a different methodology to the same issue and see how it goes? And if we're open-minded about it, we might see a different result to it.
Exactly.
If we try it for the sake of seeing it, we might want to prove ourselves right or wrong. However, I think it pays well to sometimes challenge a little bit the status quo.
Yes, and that's why I love people around me that challenges me. So my wife challenges me every day to be better, of course. And that's what keeps me strive for the best. Even my team members. So those people that are challenging me, or it's Emanuel, why are we doing this? It's good to put me on this, because I want to understand their point of view as well. Because if I just see my point of view, I'll be like, okay, we need to focus on this, and that's it. But in reality, people that are doing the consultative job every day, they might have exposure to client A more than I do.
For sure.
So they might have information more than I do. So why shouldn't I listen to that? And I learned this throughout my management years with hands-on experience. So before we started this conversation, we were speaking about potential education or masters or PhD. But the real knowledge comes from the day-to-day, because no one ever, I could have studied, yes, part-time works. But in reality, I might not have believed it, So I was very, very against it, honestly. I used to say maybe 35 hours is the least, but honestly, it worked. So that opened door also for future roles for me within the company. That if people are looking for reduced, then why not? It could work.
It might not always work all the time.
Of course, but that same goes to full time.
For sure, for sure, because people are different. So, and we have to take things with a pinch of salt sometimes and to try it out.
Yes.
This is something that I do encourage my clients as well. As long as you have very good boundaries and you communicate these boundaries clearly so everyone knows the rules of the game, that's very, very important.
Yes.
Then you can play a game in a different, as long as the rules are agreed, you can play the game. As long as the expectations and the boundaries are clear.
Yes.
And again, expectations might differ from one person to another.
Once again, honesty. Sorry, I know I'm linking honesty to
Sure.
this, but once again, being direct with the person, employee, employer, client, candidate, whoever it is the best policy, because that's how you can literally diverge into conversation. Okay, what is your issue? What do you want to achieve? Do you want the flexibility aspect? Do you want more money? Do you want, commission?
Yes.
So unless you understand their point of view, you can never change or you can never get better. And this is a struggle as well, I'm assuming you face as well with the clients. So clients usually are, an accountant resigned, I need another accountant. Finance manager resigned, I need a finance manager. Wait, pause. One moment. Okay, someone resigned. Is there a possibility of a shift of role? Is there a possible promotion? Do we need to, if a high level person resigned, do we need to recruit someone external? because that could be another problem. People could resign. So sometimes in recruitment, people act quick. We need to be quick because if I don't act quick, we lose the candidate. And it's the truth, and I advise clients to be quick as well. But once they are convinced, you cannot just act quick because I need someone today. Whoever comes first will get the job. It doesn't happen that way. We had an instance recently. A client was superly urgent looking for someone. We had a person. This person had 2 months notice. She was offered the job. This person accepted, resigned from her job. And this client, all of a sudden, I found someone with 1 week notice. I'm not going to proceed with your candidate. I was like, whoa, wait. I mean, you can do it. It's not illegal, but always keep in mind that there's a person. This person resigned, moved from her job, could end up jobless. She has a loan to pay. She has kids to feed. Where's the ethics? Sadly, this ex-client is basically proceeded still. Unfortunately for this person, thank God we still found this person a job in the same period of her notice. Thank God for that, because I would have felt responsible myself.
For sure.
But sometimes these unethical decisions is what speaks louder than any marketing, any billboards you will have, any radio ads you will have. So when I encourage, honestly, anyone who's listening to this podcast, any company, keep in mind, guys, Malta is small. People speak. So it's important, very important, to take care of your employees, or your future employees, or your prospective employees, because really and truly, we might not work together today, but maybe in 6 months' time or 8 months' time.
You never know.
So you can never know, and that's why one of the reasons why I love this job, because honestly, sometimes you might see someone, I will never work with this person, and then all of a sudden you're working together in the same office, or you're finding him a job, or he's a client. So it is a bit of a role which makes you humble as well, but also keeps you on your toes all the time.
Manuel, what changed in? Because work is a lot of who we are or who we become as adults. What changed in your personal life as a result of your role?
So I would say what changed is that even I'm very committed to my work. Without funding, I'm not doing this an advert for my CEO. But honestly, I'm committed to my work because I believe that there's clients who are waiting for me or from my team, and also my team which I need to guide. At the end of that's why I get my salary. But unfortunately, things change in life. So sometimes I'm abroad. Not that fortunately, okay. But even when I'm abroad, sometimes the phone calls, the phone is ringing. Last time I was in the mountains. We were speaking about the mountains. I was literally on a gondola going from one mountain to the other, and my phone is ringing. I had to pick it up, of course. And my back then she was still my girlfriend. My wife was like, even here you're picking up the phone, even here you're speaking about recruitment, even here. So I would say the personal life sometimes interferes professional life, but I would say, and I'm saying interferes because the older generation, now no longer the youngest, says that work is very important, and it is important. But once again, as I said in the beginning of this podcast, personal life is the most important thing in life. Yes, your career is important, and sometimes personal life is there during your working hours. Sometimes something happens at home, you need to adapt to it. Sometimes something goes off in the house or whatever. Sometimes you have an personal appointment you need to. But I would say work became, I'm not going to say a flexible arrangement, and not just for me, but I would say for the majority of people, because our work could be done almost everywhere. The flexibility aspect of our day-to-day is what makes our life easier to juggle everything, because personal life is there, it happens, and sometimes it happens without us even planning for it. So some instances or issues, or I don't know, a leak or whatever it could be, could make you need to have a quick pause from work and shift your priorities. And I would say in today's world, flexibility became the most crucial thing, and even in my life. I don't have kids, but in today's world, you need to be flexible as well, because you don't know what happens tomorrow. You might need to leave or whatever. So that is what I would say. Thank God I have a very supportive management as well at the company, but it is the flexibility in our personal life is required to maintain a life worth living, let's say. Also, when you're involved, I used to be involved in politics as well, and that is where the flexibility is really required, because you need to attend meetings outside of office hours, outside of office premises, etc. So I would say Malta and the workforce in general needs to be flexible and needs to adapt to flexibility. That's how people would only, or at least the most, choose loyalty towards their company, because flexibility, once again, from my point of view, is important for someone to keep on going with their personal life along with being successful in their career.
On a practical note, what's one skill that you've taken from your full-time job to your personal life?
If my wife is seeing this, she will say, no, not true. But most probably is juggling between one task and the other. Because at home, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do that. Whilst at work, I need to deal with this client, I need to deal with this problem, there's a company firing someone, there's someone in the team requires help, assistance, etc. So I would say the juggling and time management of things. Once again, everyone has their different perspectives, but I would say the aspect of the management of things and sometimes crisis management, because at home, if something happens, I'm the chill one. Oh yeah, we'll fix it somewhere or another, we'll do it. My wife is not like that. So but at work it's the same. So I cannot panic every time something goes off, because I will be panicky all day. There are instances where I panic as well, but I would say the crisis management, aspect is what taught me about like shifting from work to person.
Okay, very interesting. I think that in my case, these have become one and the same.
Yes,
to a certain degree.
Yes.
Manuel, we're nearing the end of our episode, so I'm going to ask you to choose one of these questions and read it out loud.
So, what's your approach to lifelong learning? So, I'm a very...
It wasn't on purpose.
Whoa. We mentioned PhD, and now there's this. To be honest,
maybe a sign from the universe? No.
Could be.
Sure.
Could be. No, I'm a firm believer of lifelong learning. When we were discussing before, a long course might not be the perfect timing at the moment for me, but I'm a firm believer of lifelong learning, training courses, even short courses sometimes. And sometimes these short courses are more fruitful than the longer ones, because you'd be more focused for a short period of time and you'd get as much information out of it. Both as a company and also as Manuel, we focus a lot on the continuous learning. So for me, you never know enough. Irrelevant of your years of experience, irrelevant of your contacts, irrelevant of how many degrees you have, that's good, but not enough. So even I personally, I attend, for example, obviously I work in recruitment, so any new law on HR, recruitment, employment, I want to attend, even though I'm not in HR directly, or I am not a lawyer, but I want to understand the industry that I work in. So for me, I'm a firm believer of it. I constantly urge my team, and also our HR urges me to attend courses, whether it's short courses, long courses, whatever people might deem fit. And something I've learned as well, even though it's not lifelong, but I was studying European studies, as I was saying before, and my master's is in diplomatic studies and politics. So even though I do not work in that field, politics and negotiation goes quite hand in hand. So one of my topics was actually negotiation and persuasion. So in that case, I use it. At least I use one module out of my master's. So, but lifelong learning is very important, and I believe that without it, people would be wiped out from the importance in the market.
You mentioned that adaptability and being adaptable. And this morning I was delivering a workshop, and a word that came out from this workshop, amongst many things, was being resourceful and working with the tools that you have at your disposal at that given moment. Because sometimes we look for the perfect moment, the perfect resources, and sometimes that doesn't happen. So being resourceful and making ends meet with what you have is a skill worth investing time in. So the question reminded me of that as
Fair
well.
enough. No, it is very important. Lifelong learning and continuously trying to improve yourself. Because as you said, just last this bit and then I'll leave it up to you. But on the adaptability aspect, if we don't adapt to AI or technology, for example, we will be wiped out. Both as a recruitment agency, as Manuel the recruiter, whoever it is. So we need to constantly adapt, staying ahead of the curve, not just Malta-based, but it's good to also follow international businesses, because that's how one can improve and become a better leader at the end of the day as well.
Definitely. Manuel, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It has been a pleasure.
Likewise, enjoyed the episode. Every episode brings something different to the table. So I appreciated the concept of misconceptions that we've stretched together. And I appreciated the fact that we've given recruitment the light that it deserves.
yes, especially in recent times about we hear a lot of negative on the recruitment aspect due to overpopulation and all that, but we're not just the bad side.
Yes, it's good to hear the two sides of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that what this episode brought about.
Agreed.
So thank you for your time again,
and
looking forward to keeping in touch.
Take care. Thanks a lot.